Wow, that's exciting. I'm sorry. I missed a week of your new dad. Your dad missed you. I hope you miss me. I absolutely am so excited to be back here today. I got my cup of coffee here. I'm hydrated. I'm down to only 6 Zens a day, 3 milligrams. Are you happy for me? Thanks. Thank you. I appreciate that. I thank you for praying for me. It means a lot. So today we are going to talk about the wild world that is 2024. We're going to get a little political. Is that okay? Can you handle that? I think you can. You're a big kid. You're old enough and you're big enough to be able to talk to people and discuss ideas. Many people in today's world are not apparently able to have discussions that are opposite of what they believe in without losing their minds. And I say this with no hyperbole. It is true. I was just a fella born long ago. You might have been born a little sooner than I was or a little later than I was. I don't know. But when I was a youngster, I knew nothing about politics. Typically, you were whatever your parents were. You're like, mom and dad are Democrats. I'm a Democrat. Mom and dad are Republicans. I'm a Republican. Mom and dad don't vote. Well, I guess I won't vote. But I can tell you this. I was extremely excited to turn 18 and get to vote. It was a big deal. It was like, all right. Got my driver's license when I was 16. Now I'm 18. I can go die in a war. I can't drink a beer, but I can vote. And I took it serious, and I've always voted. So if you're one of those people who's like, I don't vote, it doesn't matter. Well, maybe you should at least consider voting in local politics or maybe big politics, branch out from your city to your state to maybe the United States. I personally think it is everybody's responsibility, if you are a United States citizen, to vote. And I get tired of people that are like, it doesn't do anything. Well, clearly elections have consequences, regardless of what you believe. They do, you silly Billy. Unless you're one of those more conspiracy type people who thinks that it doesn't matter. Maybe you are. I don't know. This is very exciting. I just got a text message. I'm sorry. It's from a group text that I'm in with a bunch of gentlemen. And a lot of these gentlemen around 2020 were all on the left with very lefty wives. Now, what does that mean? For those of you that don't know, I'll explain. And I didn't know this till very recently, like when I was in my 30s. I was a Republican because my parents were Republicans. And I thought those were just church-going people that voted the right way. I didn't know that there was a whole crazy world of Republicans that like to fight wars. I didn't know there was rhinos, Republicans in names only. I thought Democrats, I didn't know what I thought about Democrats. I just thought, they're not what mom and dad is. But as I got older, I realized the left is supposed to be the left side of politics, okay? It's like a bird. Left wing and right wing. Some people fall in the middle. Some people think they're both part of the same bird or two sides of the same coin and it doesn't matter and they all work together and this and that and the other thing. But in our country, the United States of America, it is supposed to be about the people. We elect the officials and they work for us. I know, it's crazy. That's how it's supposed to work. Excuse me. This is so irresponsible. This is just blowing up. Don't get on group texts, and then you won't have to worry about getting interrupted during a podcast. So people on the left, the lefty loosies, genuinely believe, yes, they do. Generally, they like big government. They like the idea of the government taking care of everything, providing great stuff, services. They really want that government control. People on the right, more conservative, want smaller government. You see, those on the left are usually pro-unions. Those on the right usually are not. I always got those two confused. And as time goes by and you get a little older, you begin to consider politics and get serious about them. Now, a lot of people when they're youngsters in college, they start to go, oh, I'm so into politics, blah, blah, blah. But it's just part of growing up. And they're usually left-leaning because most of our universities are extremely left. I'm not sure if you realize that. Most of them are led by people who have been in academia their entire life. And there's professors, and they sit in front of groups of young people, usually 18 to 22, and they love to say what they believe, and they love to write books, and they make you buy your books, and you have to agree with them in order to pass the class, and they're usually very left. Now, lately, in the past few years, the Democratic Party, that's what we call it here in the United States, looks a lot different than the Democratic Party from years ago. This is not your party of JFK, okay? This is not your Franklin Roosevelt party. Things have got a little wacky. Now, they'll tell you that the right's gotten a little wacky, and they'll go back and forth and blah, blah, blah. But that's generally what we got. Big government, little government. One side wants the government to kind of leave them alone, be free, and kind of make their own decisions. The other side really wants a lot of involvement there. Basically, you're not smart enough to make your own decisions, this, that, the other thing. And when you live here, usually there's two parties. There's a third party. You could be a libertarian, a libertine, or you could be part of the Green Party. There's a few more parties, but every time you go to vote, you just see all these people you've never heard of, and you're like, I didn't even know that was a party. But generally, Republicans and Democrats. Okay, we got that? Good. Now, for many folks, politics is a form of entertainment. They love it. It's all they want to talk about. Now, I'll explain this to you. When I was younger, the most boring thing in the world. All I heard adults talk about was real estate and politics. And I would think to myself, why are they always talking about real estate and politics? Well, they're talking about real estate because for most people, purchasing a home is the biggest thing they're ever going to do in their life. And they want to pay it off. And that is how they build wealth, and it's very important to them. So they're always talking about real estate. Does their home value go up? Does it go down? And then politics, just a big, big, big part of your life as you get older for a lot of people. Because you can see as you get older that some ideas are good and some ideas are bad. Meaning, do you live in a city that's buck wild where there's 100,000 homeless people who are defecating in the streets and living in tents? Does that seem normal? That used to not to be something that was going on. So why is that? Well, drug laws have changed over time and many, many other things. So you see how policies affect your life. Crime. Is your state hard on crime? Soft on crime? Is your city hard on parking? Do they ticket you when you park somewhere? Do they not ticket you when you park somewhere? From the smallest things to the biggest things, it really affects people's daily lives. So as you get older, and dare I say, when you have children, you go, what kind of world would I like to live in? Would I like my child to go to public school where I could have some wackadoodle teacher who's out of her mind telling my 13-year-old son that, hey, if he thinks he's a girl, cool, that's awesome. Just tell me. Tell me your teacher. Don't tell your parents, and that's totally rad. I'll get you the resources you need to transition. Yeah, that's really going on. That's not a joke. So that does happen. So do you want that kind of thing? Or do you want to send your kids to private school? Or maybe just have none of that stuff talked about in public school? These are the things we deal with as we get older, as we become grown-ups. But lately, you have massive, massive division. And many people will say, that's what our government wants. They want to divide us. They want to destroy us. I don't know if it's necessarily that. This is what I've always thought. I think that the type of people that are usually Democrats have big hearts sometimes, or pretend to have big hearts. And they're usually people that lean more towards the arts, lean more towards academia. Academics are big, and they stay in that world, and all of those little checks that they get. I went to this school, my kids went to this school, I got this job, a lot of them go into law, this, that, the other thing. Those are really big deals to them. And they like to say they're on the right side of history all the time. Then those on the right in my opinion, tend to have more common sense, maybe a little more blue collar, maybe a little more leaning towards jobs where they work with their hands and they're interacting with the public every day. Your farmers, your cops, your firefighters, your military, those sort of folks. So you have two different types of human beings. And I'll even say this, a lot of the liberals I know, and being liberal, super liberal, you have them, and then you just have your old school Democrats. But right now, the loudest voice in the party is pretty lefty-loosey. And they tend to be the smartest person in the room in their own mind. You can be sitting talking with somebody and you're like, wow, you really think you're incredible because you have a master's degree or a bachelor's degree or a doctorate perhaps. And then you're standing on the other side of them and you're like, I have 10,000 hours dealing with homeless people and crack addicts, and I've been shot at, and I've helped dead people come back to life. I've done all these things with my hands. I'm out in the city every day. I'm looking around, and you're in an office somewhere. You're in a classroom teaching. So two different types of people viewing the world through two completely different lenses. There's nothing wrong with that. It's okay. And you also have age. You have young. When you're young, you're not as wise, you're not as smart, and you usually tend to have more of a bleeding heart. Do you know what that term means? Those bleeding heart liberals, that just means, man, I know what's right. I'm going to help everybody. Everybody needs help, and we can solve all the problems with education and government. And then you have the people on the right who are like, well, maybe it's a moral thing. Maybe we need stronger families. Maybe getting married in the nuclear family is a great thing, a wonderful thing. And when there's two parents in the home and they love each other and they create a great environment for their kid, that's awesome. And maybe there's certain books that they should be reading, literature, and maybe there's other things that they shouldn't be reading. And at the same time, in 2024, you have massive amounts of information coming at you through this, through your television, through your radio, through podcasts. So many things coming to the human brain, so much stuff, so many images that it's probably not good. On top of that, you have more pharmaceuticals in people's systems than there's ever been. People are pilled out on wild stuff. Point is, two different types of people. That's fine. Technology, all converging. Blah, creating a wild atmosphere. What's real? What's not real? And people trying to sort out all of these different things. But the thing that concerns me the most, and I hope it concerns you the most, is when did it become okay not to sit down and listen to someone else's opinion? That's what we used to do. You'd sit at a table, one person would be a Democrat, one person would be a Republican. You'd go back and forth. You'd have an argument. You'd high five at the end, and you went about your merry way. Now it's that person's Satan, and the other person goes, no, that's person's Satan. Well, here's the thing. We're human beings, and we're talking about Americans. We're United States citizens. So if you're here, that's what we are. We're human beings, and we have different ideas of the way the world works, the way things should be run. We all have different levels of intelligence. Just because you're book smart doesn't mean you're street smart. Just because you're street smart doesn't mean you're book smart. And sometimes you meet people who are both. So, point is, we've got to a place where we can't even have discussions with each other. And that's absurd. That's like junior high. That is like, you can't sit at the lunch table with me, blah, blah, blah. I made the decision that you're this, that, or the other thing. It's absolutely insane, and it is turned into a wild place. Now, so you know, I live in California. I am a third, or is it fourth generation native Californian? And if I say that on Instagram, people go, native? Yes, born here. My dad was born here. My grandpapa was born here, and my great-grandfather was born here. Not native in the big capital N sense, like native to the land. Is that what you want to talk about? We can keep going back and back. Native Americans, where did they come from? Well, if you want to keep going back, they crossed a land bridge here to America from somewhere else. So it just goes on, and it's stupid. And one side loves to talk about race all the time, point the finger, say you're a racist, you're this, and the other side says, yeah. Are they racist? Of course. Have I met any lately? No. Nope. I have not. But the way you hear things, apparently that's the greatest threat to our country. And America's bad. America's not good. Well, I say that's a bunch of rubbish. I would not want to have been born anywhere else at any other time. Right now is the most incredible time to be alive. Despite what you hear, it is an amazing time. And one of the things I find most fascinating is with information and the access that people have to it, is that a lot of people's eyes are opening to things that they did not know before. For instance, yes, you are being lied to all the time. People want your money, they want your vote, and they want total control over you. Not sure if you realize that. People in positions of power, and it's been like this forever, they love to control the population. You're the population. I'm the population. Whether you're lower class, middle class, upper class, there are people who have a vested interest in getting you to follow them so that they can go about their merry way doing the things they do. Some things they do are evil. Some things might be good. You have to understand human beings and what they do. So, what is my point of all of this? All of the politics and all the things we hear about today, there are actual consequences for who you vote for, and you should get out and vote. Absolutely 100 billion% you should vote. If you're over 18 and you're a citizen, get out there and do it. But talk to both sides. Talk to your most liberal friend. Talk to your most right-leaning friend. Talk to your friends in the middle. Talk to your friends who are like, screw it, I don't want to vote. Get a circle of people that all think differently so that you can formulate your own opinion. And also know that everybody comes from a different place. Some of them had great parents. Some of them had terrible parents. Some of them basically had no parents. Some people had a lot of trauma in their lives. Other people had it easy. Some people have money. Some people didn't have money. Everybody comes from a different place. Some people went to this school. Some people didn't go to a school, to a college. So we're all who we are based off our experiences. But what I would like to say to you is there are good ideas that then become laws, and you can look around. You can look at the United States of America like a little laboratory. We have all these different states, some with bigger populations, some with bigger amounts of money. And we have all these cities, and you can see which ones are run great, which ones are run not. And you can look at Middle America and you can go, why do those people think that way? You can look at the West Coast and the East Coast and you can say, why do those coastal people think this way? Use your imagination and put yourself in other people's shoes. And also, a lot of people, they're a one issue voter. For instance, the left, abortion, loves abortion, just loves it. Why is that? Very strange. Well, can you put your shoes in somebody who doesn't love abortion? Can you understand where they may be coming from? I can. Can you find a middle ground? Can we have talks? I often think that what the United States of America needs is one big barbecue where we all come together and we hang out. And sure, there's the creeps that maybe we keep on the outskirts that aren't invited to the barbecue, because they might be dangerous. But the truth is, most human beings, if you get them alone and they're not heavily medicated and they're not surrounded by peer pressure and you get them one-on-one and you look them in the eye, you can have a conversation with just about anybody on the planet. So what prejudice do you have about other people? Do you think Republicans are all bad? If you're a Republican, do you think people on the left are all bad? Do you think cops are terrible? Do you think they're great? Human beings are complicated. We live in an experiment, the United States. They took a bunch of human beings from all over the world and we landed here. And it's a beautiful thing when it works. And it's a crazy thing when it doesn't. And it's a very, very young country. We're capable of greatness, incredible, incredible things. We've proved it in the past. We're capable of awful things too. Human beings, the wildest creatures on the planet Earth. So as we approach an election in November, a few short weeks away, I would say vote and respect your neighbor. Try to love your neighbor. But also, look at stupid people that are clearly liars staring at you from behind a camera or on your phone. Use your brain. Use common sense. Read between the lines. Can you do that? Can you take a breath? Don't be so wrapped up in the group, in groupthink. Get down to your core and your center. What do you believe? And then walk into that booth, which has little dividers so no one can see who you're voting for. That's what we used to do. We kept our politics and our religion to ourselves. But when things go completely off the rails and so completely insane like they are now, I don't think there's anything wrong with voicing your opinion. Will there be backlash? Sure, maybe. People are silly. People are silly. I personally think there's a right direction for this country to go. And I really think it starts with family. Having a good mom, having a good dad, having morals, having some grounding, loving your kids, raising them right. It's not the responsibility of the state to raise your kids. It's your responsibility. Having conversations with them, hard conversations. And if you did not receive that, well, you might be susceptible to falling for whichever way the social and political winds are blowing. So you need to get alone and you need to ask yourself, have I been brainwashed? Yes, brainwashed. If you sit in a classroom for, 12 years, you graduate high school, you go to college for 4 more, maybe some of the things that are in your brain aren't necessarily the truth and were just told to you by people who have a vested interest in getting control of your thoughts and emotions. Speaking of emotions, that's how I think most people vote. Emotionally, not rationally, emotionally. It's disturbing, but that's the way people are. Little short 30-second sound bites. This, did you hear that? Did you hear this? Bobby, guess what happened? Guess what this person said? Did you hear what the president did? Oh, you have to sort through all of the hysteria and all of the lies and come to a place where you know who you are, and then you place a vote. But bigger than that, live your life in a way that is worth living, meaning you love other people, even if it's difficult. You sit, you listen to them, and you hear what they have to say. And hopefully, and here's the kicker, they hear what you have to say. And you look each other in the eye, you shake hands, maybe you give them a hug, and you say, wow, I view the world completely different than you do. And that's okay. Because we're both Americans and that's what makes this country great. But there are real consequences for electing leaders who are trash and those who possibly have incredible ideas, or maybe not so incredible ideas, but maybe are the best person for the moment. And maybe there are other people that aren't the best for the moment. And there's a lot of corruption and there's a lot of power at the top that is dark, and evil. Straight up. Just some nasty stuff. And it's nothing new. I hope we learned something today. I don't know if we did. But I love you. Your dad loves you. Maybe nobody else loves you. But I love you, and that's why I'm here. I hope you learned something today. Get out there, be the best version of yourself that you know how to be. Try to get wisdom. Try to get wisdom. Try to get wisdom. Try to get wisdom. Try not to be emotional. Try not to get wrapped up in things and lose your head. Try to remain cool, calm, and collected like Fonzie in Happy Days. Yeah. Stay cool, my friends, my children. I love you so much. This was your new dad, episode 6 or 7? I don't know. Have a great day. Shaka.